All right. Let's talk about double closing. What if I told you there's a way to make 2 or 3 times more per deal legally? Yes, legally, without tipping off your buyer or seller. It's called double closing. Um, uh, when I first my first deal ever was supposed to be $20,000. This was December 2005. It was supposed to be $20,000. It ended up being $10,000 because I was jumping ahead of myself. I decided not. Well, it's not a decision. I eventually decided to use a mentor. Okay, what happened was that I started a business. Remember, I mentioned a guy's name, Richard Douglas, in New Jersey, and back in 2005. So I executed my marketing, and then a lead came in, and then I signed a contract. As a matter of fact, at the time, I used not a sales contract. I used what they call the option to buy. Oh yeah, in real estate, you can use option to buy. So it's a one-way contract, basically that say, hey, you give me this time, and you're giving me the option to purchase this property at a certain price. All right. So this property was actually in Mon Avenue in Newark, New Jersey, and I signed the deal, and I started the disposition process, and somebody was interested in the property, and then it was $20,000 spread that I was about to make. I was so happy, excited, but scared shitless at the same time. It was the first deal. I was 20 at this time. I was 26 years old. I just turned 26 at the time. Anyway, so did the deal, set up everything, sent it to a title company. Well, the title company I was using what happened to be the buyers. I didn't know the game. I was just doing things, just trying to, But between signing that deal, signing that contract, and closing, I had 3 additional leads came in. Okay, but I had met this young gentleman at that time. He's like 1 year older than me, so his name is Anthony Cardinelli, right? And he was like, I met him through another gentleman called Bob Barenbach in Jersey, right? And they were like, no, walk with Anthony. I went to this real estate event in New Jersey. I think now it's called Delta Hotel. At that time, it was a Sheraton at the time on Route 1. So I met them, and they said, start working. So I met Anthony. I took, kind of like, okay, we can relate. And he said, okay. Then so I generated like 3 more deals, and said, Anthony, he's going to mentor me. Let's just work together. I said, just work together. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's work together, which is something I offer here now today. And three leads came in. Anthony, we both visited, went to the home, we signed up the deals, and then he started working on them. So I just sit back. So I had 3 deals, so 3 leads or deals, I guess you call it deals. I had 3 deals in the pipeline, but I had already initiated one by myself. So I didn't know what I was doing. So of course, with the option to buy, everything was on one contract. Everything was on one contract, which means everything will be one closing, which means they'll be paying me my $20,000 as a fee off of the net sheet, what we call the hard one statement sheet, that shows where all the monies are going, appraisers, title company fee, uh, FedEx fee, all the fees, all the closing costs that you pay in a typical real estate transaction, right? So that would show a fee going to me for $20,000. And that became an issue, right? Because at closing, we got to closing, and the seller was like, wait, you're making $20,000 off of my house? And then I said, yeah, that's why we do this business. I don't know what I said. I probably was shaking and, not exactly. I've always been assertive, talking like this. I've always been that way, but still, you don't know what you don't know, right? So he was like, no, I can't do the deal. He was like, no, I'm not going to do the deal. It's like, I'm not giving you no $20,000. So everybody was like looking at each other at the closing, right? So we stepped aside. I said, I'll give you $10,000. And he said, you have a deal. So should I call it I lost $10,000? No, because it was money I didn't have. And that $10,000 I made was good. And I took $5,000. I bought a car. I needed a car badly at the time. So anyway, Double closing is basically would have avoided all of that drama because he will be only to see only the side and only the numbers that 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 satisfied the original agreement, and the other there will be a second transaction that will basically be me as a new seller selling the house to the end buyer. So I'm a buyer on the first transaction, but I'm a seller on the second transaction, and the two closings can be done on the same day. And yes, it's legal. Okay. Some now there's been more restrictions around it. If you're using mortgages, I think there are restrictions around that. They don't want you to transfer titles multiple times within a short period of time. Sometimes they'll put a restriction of 3 months. But even with transactional funding, there's all for every time they come up with a restriction, there's a new tool, legal tool or legal leverage that you can actually use. For transactional funding, you can pay 1 point, 2 points, and you actually buy the house, you hold on to it, make sure it's safe. For a few days later, you can sell it. So there's no excuse, okay? But it's a double closing, okay? It fosters privacy, okay? Obviously, bigger profits because you don't have to be splitting your profit with people that already agreed to a purchase contract before, right? And then it's a lot more cleaner. You pay like double closing costs, but it's still worth the spread that you can make when you actually do it the right way. Okay, so you need title company coordination. You need investor friendly title companies that will make this easier. A lot of title companies just don't understand it. So if they don't understand it, they don't want to touch it. It doesn't mean it's illegal. There are just look for investor friendly title companies. And then, like I said, funding. Okay, funding, and then so you can make $50,000 assignment fee, $120,000 from an assignment fee. And also, if you're using hard money lenders, they also restrict how much money you can make. So double closing is the end all be all solution for all of that. Okay. It needs to be big enough to compensate for the two different closing costs you're going to pay because you have two different transactions. Title companies that do this, they're happy because they're getting paid on two different transactions. Sometimes the attorney as well. So now that you're mastering bigger profits, okay, this was the only way I would make it $82,000, my highest deal ever. Just FYI, okay. Time to skill into doing more, okay. Let's trust. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. Always. Shout out to Natu. I see you. All right, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. I'll be right back. This is Ola at My Empire Pro, your favorite real estate coach. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your empire starts today. I've written 3 game-changing books. Download them free at myempirepro.com/books. I'm also looking for partners, money, time, or anywhere in between. If that's you, visit myempirepro.com/partners. And if you want to try the all-in-one PropStream software for free, go to myempirepro.com/PropStream. Stay tuned. Let's build your $10,000 per month real estate empire.